Jake Paul, I think when he weighed in for Mike Tyson, was 227 pounds.
Official weight, 227.2 pounds.
That is, if I'm not mistaken, a 92-pound weight difference. Almost a 100-pound weight difference. It's insane. Let's say he comes in at 200 pounds. It's still a 65-pound weight advantage. Which
the
is
former UFC middleweight champion Michael Bisping, now a respected analyst, dismissed Paul as nothing more than a clown and a bully in boxing.
Out there claiming to want to fight the best people on the planet, and then going out there and taking on a guy that is maybe 92 pounds heavier, that is at least 65 pounds heavier than you. That is called one thing. That's called being a bully.
Circulating clips even show Paul mocking and belittling Gervonta, Tank, Davis in recent videos. To many, this behavior crossed the line from hype into outright disrespect. This isn't simple trash talk. It reveals what truly drives Paul, not honor for the sport, but financial gain. The proposed fight has ignited more skepticism, criticism, and rejection than genuine excitement among fans, fighters, and analysts alike.
Remarkable.
Gervonta Davis just posted that he would beat the brakes off of you if you guys fight.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be down. Let's run it. Like, I'll be super, super down.
Gervonta,
I don't know if
Gervonta needs Jake Paul. Let's be clear, right?
Is there a height limit in boxing?
At a time when crossover bouts are becoming increasingly common, the overwhelmingly negative reaction to this one is striking. The clash with boxing's traditional foundation is obvious. This isn't the kind of contest the sport is meant to see, and if it does happen, it risks undermining the credibility of professional boxing. Daniel Cormier weighed in on the potential Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis showdown, focusing on the most basic yet decisive element.
So much about him fighting someone like somebody your size. His next opponent is by far the most credentialed guy ever fought actively in his prime. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. He fights at 130.
And did not restrain himself when
in
questioned about the
sports,
discussion of a possible
size
Jake
and
Paul
weight.
versus
The two-time UFC champion explained that no matter the height or talent, the sheer physical difference between the men makes the bout fundamentally wrong. Shakur Stevenson also didn't hold back when asked about the possibility of Paul versus Davis.
Go fight Jake Paul instead. What do you think of that?
I think that's terrible.
Why?
I mean, I get it, because at the end of the day, it's the money business, and you want to make the most money, but from what I'm hearing, he can make more money in a fight with me, and if that's the case.
His blunt reply was that the fight is absurd, making it clear he sees it as nothing more than a money grab. Stevenson admitted Paul has improved as a boxer, but reminded everyone that Davis is a proven, high-level champion operating on a completely different level.
Do I think he beats JB? Yeah. I mean,
it's a huge size advantage, though.
It is, but I think Tank got the skills to make sure he come out on top.
Do you think that Jake has gone better?
Yeah, I think actually Jake got tremendously better from the time frame that he started till now. And in the right situation, I also could see him become a world champion.
Really?
With Davis's experience, skill, and raw power, Stevenson argued Tank would overwhelm Paul, hype or not. Sure, does Tank beat Jake Paul? Do I think he beats JP? Yeah. There's a big size advantage, though. True. But Tank has the skills to make sure he comes.
The thing with, the fans, they don't, it's not really fans it's not fans that really understand the sport.
It's casual
You know
fans.
what I'm saying? Yeah, they don't really understand the sport. They just, okay, I like this person, so I'm gonna go against this fighter. Or I'm gonna go against every other fighter but this fighter right here. That's what, you know? But if you just go look at nigga that fights, bro, you could tell, it's not even though it's a waste. Till y'all prove yourself to, you feel me? That's what, to me, till niggas start proving that stuff, all right, bet.
He's out on top. Do you think Jake has improved? Perhaps. But the glaring difference between the two fighters is unavoidable. Davis, a 3-division world champion, is an elite professional with a decorated amateur background, ferocious punching power,
It's kind of weird because Jake Paul is extremely bigger than Tank. And I mean, but with it being a exhibition, it makes sense. You know, it's fine. You got a big.
and years of success at the highest level. His resume cements him as one of the sport's pound-for-pound stars. Jeff Mayweather also joined the growing chorus of doubt around a potential Paul versus Davis bout, zeroing in on the massive size disparity. The veteran trainer
I mean, it really makes no sense because he's gonna be weighing over 200 and some pounds. Tank's gonna probably be weighing maybe at the most 147, 150. So I don't even understand.
stressing that Jake Paul is simply too big for Tank Davis. In Mayweather's view, the difference isn't slight but enormous, nearly 90 pounds at their natural fighting weights. For him, that kind of gap makes a sanctioned fight nonsensical. While he admitted an exhibition could pass as pure entertainment, he insisted that a real sanctioned fight would be absurdly unfair. In comparison to Tank, Jake Paul may be improving, but he remains a YouTuber-turned-boxer who built his name by fighting aging MMA veterans and a handful of fringe professionals. Even with his commitment to training, the gulf in class between Paul and Davis is so wide that this contest feels more like a spectacle than a legitimate sporting event.
Dangerous facts that make me think that Jake's really got to lock in for this one. On the contrary, if Gervonta feels a couple big Jake Paul shots, it's going to be detrimental.
I think this is going to be one of those ones that gets a real good racial split. I think it's going to be some real black.
Adding fuel to the fire, Logan Paul jumped into the discussion about his brother and Davis, issuing not promotion but a warning.
You're not going to watch Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis when that happens?
No, isn't that stupid? I mean, Jake Paul is twice the size. I mean, how do you make a match like that?
Speaking candidly, Logan told Jake that Tank Davis isn't a name to toy with. He's a world-class fighter with devastating power and elite experience. Logan's tone sounded more concerned than promotional, warning Jake that this fight could be far more dangerous than he imagines. Across the boxing world, the matchup is being slammed with every negative label possible. Bob Arum, one of the sport's most influential voices, dismissed it outright as a meaningless circus, saying it offers nothing to real fight fans.
Get someone that keeps you up at night. I get someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real. Not going up against someone that is so small. If you were to go up to this guy in a bar and try and start a fight with them, people would look at you and say one word: whoa, 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 stop being such a bully. Leave him alone. You are way bigger than this guy. And that's clear.
He even encouraged people not to bother watching, admitting he had zero interest himself. Critics highlight that the fight is not only a mismatch in skill, but also in size and context. Paul competes at cruiserweight, while Davis fights in much smaller divisions.
That's 6'1", that's only had one loss on the record. Of course, Tommy Fury doesn't want to face him again. Picking on a guy that small would be laughable. It would be embarrassing, okay? It's straight up bullying.
Usually between 130 and 140 pounds. Michael Bisping doubled down on his attack on the fight, arguing that a true boxer should challenge someone dangerous enough to force extra training and genuine fear of defeat. Instead, Bisping claimed,
Big Tank has a lot of skill, but I don't think he's the same Tank that we saw the most incredible knockouts. We saw him, I mean, Lamont Roach performed great. They went to draw, and, you know, I just don't know. And Tank walked away. I don't know if he loves it enough to beat a guy who outweighs him by 80 to 100 pounds.
Paul is picking on someone smaller, a mismatch that anywhere else would be considered bullying. He even criticized Paul's record, pointing out that with just one loss to Tommy Fury, it's pathetic to chase a fight with a man as small as Gervonta Davis. To Bisping, the matchup isn't just a mismatch, it's a farce, comedy, disgrace, and bullying dressed up as boxing. Mike Perry also didn't hold back when asked about the buzz surrounding Davis versus Paul. The bare-knuckle star and former UFC fighter touring to the fight, and went further, questioning whether Jake Paul truly has a fighter's heart. Perry argued that Paul's habit of calling out smaller fighters proves he's more interested in headlines.
Hardcore boxing fans. But you know what about boxing? I like when it's all said and done and when you guys go off, they go into the next man. So if y'all can make a big payday, go get that payday. The sport of boxing don't love you. That's the problem with this sport. It's like what Jake Paul did, man, it's crazy, but people getting paid off of it.
Yeah.
So if he can call any one of y'all out and
Then genuine competition. Any matchup would require a catch weight or a drastic weight change for one of the fighters, which would inevitably compromise performance. Fans would be left questioning whether it was ever a fair fight to begin with. Anthony Benna offered a different take, pointing out that while
boxing fans, there's an essence that comes with this sport, and it's an essence that hasn't been lost, unlike other sports. For an example, with football, we come from the hitting days.
Yeah.
Can't hit nowadays, you know what I mean? So boxing hasn't lost its essence, you know. They're trying to make it safer and, you know, all those sorts of things, but there's still this pureness to boxing that really doesn't exist in sports anymore, but it's still there with boxing. I think that's why people have such a problem with this kind of move.
While hardcore fans are furious, fighters can't ignore the commercial reality. He explained that when a boxer's career ends, the sport quickly moves on to the next star, leaving the old one behind. With that in mind, he argued, it's hard to criticize a fighter for seizing a big money chance like this if it comes along. Sean Porter echoed his long-standing frustration with the celebrity boxing trend, suggesting promoters create a separate influencer title so internet stars can fight each other without pulling real champions into crossover spectacles. He joked, "Let those guys live in their influencer world, win their influencer belts, and feel like world champions, without disrupting real boxing." Still, despite the negativity, it's undeniable that this fight would generate massive attention. Jake Paul has a unique ability to rally younger, digitally connected audiences and turn controversy into box office gold. TalkSport analyst Spencer Oliver offered a measured take, admitting that stylistically,
Gervonta Davis actually beats him as well. He's one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world at lightweight. But it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? It's like you got a guy of 5'5" boxing a guy of 6 foot plus. Cruiserweight, yeah, it's just all a little bit odd. I feel if they're going to do an exhibition, perhaps Jake should have picked someone more his size. Look, his last fight against Julio Chavez Jr. Was at cruiserweight. Chavez Jr. was a former world champion at middleweight himself, and that sort of made sense. And it was a good win for Jake Paul. You know, he come out there and he beats an ex-world champion. He gets a little bit of credibility, and you go, right, now you're heading in.
Davis might be one of the few fighters skilled enough to outclass Paul even with the size disadvantage. Still, Oliver pointed out just how awkward and problematic the matchup is when viewed through a traditional boxing lens. Nate Diaz also weighed in on the Paul versus Davis discussion, bluntly calling
Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. Does Davis have a chance?
Gervonta is a great boxer, but he ain't gonna do.
So you got Jake Paul by knockout, or?
No, I don't got anybody, but I don't think.
He's just too small.
It's just. I don't want to beat up somebody that small. I don't want to. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think of the fight?
I don't want to lose to somebody that. There's no point in the.
calling the fight non-credible due to Tank's smaller size. But he added that he wasn't hating on either fighter, calling it a great fight for entertainment. Diaz argued that from a business perspective, the spectacle would shatter viewership records and dominate headlines simply for being something new. For promoters, that's the main prize. A crossover event that blurs the line between sport and showbiz, built to maximize pay-per-view sales. Veteran writer Keith Idec also voiced concerns, warning that whether an exhibition or official bout, the Paul Davis
one who's they're 65 pounds apart in weight for the most part now. If you look at the cruiserweight limit and the lightweight limit, even if Jake Paul somehow got down to, let's just say 180, and I'm not sure that he'd be able to do that at this point because he's fought so high in weight. Let's just say he got down to 180. They're still 45 pounds apart in weight, and that's just not safe. So if this were to be treated as some sort of, even though they're calling it an exhibition, a legitimate athletic event, I don't know how you could do that because it's just not safe for someone that big and someone that small to.
Matchup carries serious risks because of the massive size gap. He emphasized that no fighter, no matter how skilled, can fully offset such a physical disadvantage. Meanwhile, Lamont Roach Sr. was caught off guard by the news, claiming his fighter had been preparing for the bout instead.
Given that we thought we should have had the fight for him next, but that's the business of boxing, man. Stuff like that takes place, and you got to see what you're going to do going forward with it. You know what I'm saying? So it's unusual, you know what I'm saying, because we had an agreement. So we'll see.
He called the situation unusual and disappointing, saying his team had trained for months only to be sidelined. While he admitted that boxing often bends to money, he stressed this wasn't the right way to conduct the business.
Times in their career, and it's a lot. So, when they get back, they get news like that, what I'm saying, it does not receive well. So. But we solid. We're going to stand 10 toes down, man, and we're going to see what's next for us.
KSI also used the moment to slam Paul, calling the fight nothing more than a blatant cash grab. In his words, no one really cares because Jake is moving further away from true competition. Chael Sonnen, on the other hand, argued that Davis has a duty to remind people what boxing is really about. For Sonnen, Tank S.